Well, hey, everybody, we are live here today, and we're excited that you'll be joining us. And maybe you'll be watching this after the fact as well. Either way is okay. We're going live and we're continuing our conversation about creating a culture of excellence. And what does this really look like in your team and in your life? Well, for today, we're going to be talking a little bit about something that I think is really important. I think about how we've got kids in school, and whether they're virtual or they're live in person at school, teachers are always finding, okay, hey, you didn't do this right. Or my daughter's in softball right now, and it's like, hey, you didn't do this right. And we have leaders and people, many of you may know that I'm still associated with college women's basketball. And we're always looking at film and saying, you missed this call. Take a look at our media and somebody's pointing out what somebody else has done wrong. We're always finding what's wrong. And so today, I want to talk about what you are going to create is what you celebrate. So that we take a different look and we say that we need to be paying attention to the aspect of celebration and appreciation for and with our people, because the culture you create is really going to be the one that you're paying attention to. And so let's create what we celebrate. And as promised, I've got a special guest with me today. He's a great friend of mine. We've been friends for many, many years. We actually co-authored a book together a couple of years ago called You're Missing a Great Game. He's a very high qualified Division I women's basketball referee. He's also the athletic director at a school, and we're catching him today as he is live on his bus. And I'm just making sure that I'm taking a look, and maybe his screen is a little black right now. But he is with us. His name is Jeff Cross. I'm excited to have him. He's actually got a little piece in one of the chapters in my new book called Silver Platter Service, How to Create a Culture of Excellence. There's some great story and insight from him in there. It looks like we may have lost.
Can you hear me? Can you?
I can hear you. Yep. I can hear you. We lost your video, but that's okay. If we can hear you, welcome, Jeff Cross, to everybody. And everybody.
Sorry about that, Randy.
I know he is sitting on a bus right now.
I am.
So, Jeff, if you could share with our viewers and talk a little bit about the importance of appreciation and how you've seen the lack of it or the importance of it impacting teams, and obviously as a referee, but you've been a baseball coach or an athletic director. You're working with a variety of people all around the country at different ages. Talk to them about this idea of celebration and appreciation.
First things first, please accept my apology for technology. And, if anybody knows who I am, technology is not my first name, middle name, or last name. It is a name that someone give me, and I'm not very good at it. I thought I had it on Do Not Disturb, and just right on cue. As soon as you introduced me, my phone rings, and now I have a black screen. So I do apologize, and I'm very thankful that you reached out to me and asked me to maybe plug into this call. So if you don't mind, can you tell me the question again?
So we're talking about celebration and appreciation.
Sure.
Specifically, can you share what you believe that you've seen, whether it's been on the positive side or the negative side, whether people have had some great appreciation moments or they've lacked them? What do you see? Why is it important? How have you seen it with the teams that you've been a part of how critical appreciation and celebration is?
Well, it should be first on everyone's list. And I'm going to share a little story when I realized that I wasn't as good at appreciation as I am now. And some would argue that I'm probably not that great of it at this point, but I realized that it needed to be a big part of who I am and how I develop as a leader. I remember coaching. I was pretty young in my softball coaching career, and I was coaching a softball team, and I was coaching a bunch of softball girls that really barely knew how to catch a ball or hit a ball or whatever it might be. So I was only thing I knew how to do was to yell at them and tell them how they're doing it wrong, and I understood that to be coaching. But what it turned out to me, and I remember this story vividly, was I heard the umpire of the game and the opposing coach talking to each other, and I heard them use the words browbeat. All he's doing is browbeating those girls, and I'm like, they're so right. They've hit the nail on the head, and I wonder why I can't find success. And so I quickly had to learn that success is not the undefeated, the 20-0. Success is plugging into individual players and plugging into a team. So when we see those results, we may not necessarily see those results at the end of the season. You may see those results at the 15 years down the line when that kid's graduated, has a college degree, married, 2 kids, and they say, "Coach, I remember when you coached me and you plugged into the positive things that I did, and it caused me to continue on." So I think that's when I really noticed that difference in myself, and I tried to, I try to put that into my daily practice.
How do you think that we're doing, overall? Obviously, you had that great learning when you see teams that are out there. We hear at times where people will talk about, employee of the month or, player of the game or whatever it might be. And not saying that those things aren't nice and important, but are they enough? And where and how can people go further than just the obligatory person of the game, person of the month type of award?
Well, and I think first thing I need to do is explain the difference. The employee of the month is something that someone is striving for. When you go to work every day, you're hoping to get the employee of the month. In the story that you wrote in your book, Silver Platter Service, in whatever chapter 15 or whatever, that story is where it's something that they're not going for. That's what we need to notice, those kind of appreciations where it's about, hey, I wasn't working for an accolade here, but I got one. And that's what makes that when we notice that and someone gives that to us, it's way bigger than I was really working hard to get perfect attendance or employee of the month, wherever that may be, and then you get it. Well, yeah, that's what I was working towards. But when someone who maybe you very rarely talk to or maybe talk to occasionally notices your achievement and recognizes you for an achievement, it goes miles further than the I worked 30 days straight, wasn't late once.
Yeah. And so what I think you're leaning toward is something that I call the surprise and delight. And it's this idea that, yes, we all know that at the end of the month, this is coming. But the culture creation happens when there's these built-in intentional surprise and delight moments. And it isn't just the top of the line leader. It's anyone that's a part of the team, right? That can come in and give somebody a high five, that can bring in an extra Starbucks coffee or buy somebody an extra Coke at lunchtime or invite somebody out for lunch and just say, "Hey, I just really noticed that you've been working and doing such a great job," right? Anybody, surprise and delight moments, people aren't expecting them, and they have probably even more value because somebody's taking the time to say, "You matter, and I've noticed what you do for this team," right?
Yep. Yeah, it is by far for me anyway, what is better to give than to receive, right? By far, it means more to me the reaction that I can, notice someone's hard work or notice someone making a difference. That means way more to me than the actual spending $20 on a gift certificate to the Burger King or whatever that may be.
Yeah. There was a couple of people have said hello, and one of the comments is that there's a lot of, I'm paraphrasing, but there's a lot of officials, referees, right? So Jeff's a referee, and one of the things that I do beyond the speaking and the writing of the books and is coordinating for officials at the Division III level. But the comment is that they're saying that you and I have done a lot of training and development to help people get to Division I, the highest level, right in the NCAA collegiate ranks. And they said that that is a great thing, to celebrate, and not trying to say what you and I have done. But I think the point is, and this is why I wanted to say it, if we pay close enough attention, we can actually see things that other people are doing or things that have been done for us, that there is a reason and a moment to celebrate. Yet I think we get so caught up in the to-do list of the tasks that need to get done that we forget to add to the to-do list that I need to just spend some time finding people doing something right and appreciating and celebrating who they are and what they are to the team.
Yeah, and I would even go even further and say the only way you're going to have success in these kind of, helping others strive to reach their goal, or with the surprise effect or whatever that is you're calling it, the only way that's going to work is you have to be extremely self-aware. You have to be extremely aware of the people around you and what they're doing. It has to be very intentional to notice good things. If you're going to go around with blinders on and just worry about, I got to get A, B, and C done today, and not worry about the other 30 people around you, you're not going to find those things. You're like, well, I can't really find nothing. Well, that's probably because you're just focused on you instead of making an intentional daily, devotion to look at other people and what they're doing and what they're achieving.
Yeah, I love how you said it's intentional, and you really have to get outside of yourself, right? The culture gets created not because it's all about you as an individual or what you want as a leader. Even if you are at the quote unquote top of the food chain in an organization and you can literally direct and call any shot that you want, if you make it all about yourself, eventually the culture will erode. People will be afraid. They will be tired of it. They will feel that they've been used, versus, as you're saying, being an intentional. And I have to admit, I'm not always very good at this. I'm out in the backyard yesterday working with my 8-year-old daughter on hitting, a softball. And there's moments that, you catch yourself saying, no, that's not right. Versus I should be saying, that's exactly right. Do that one again. Right. And the word choices and the intentionality that we have is so critical. Another comment that came out is truly believe that appreciation and being humble go hand in hand. I mean, how powerful is that, right? That's really what we're saying is get beyond, yourself. It's just a powerful thing. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I would like to add, because you're talking about your daughter hitting, and we could put this in any contents. We can put it into whether you're the first driver behind the wheel, whether you're the first time, you're just fresh out of college and you're a brand new teacher, your first day of teaching, whatever that may be, hitting a baseball or hitting a softball. If you've ever done it, if you've ever experienced any of those things, you're putting yourself under extreme pressure. And when you add to that pressure by like, you're not hitting it right, you're not driving, you're supposed to be at 10-2, not 7-4, or whatever it is, right? That's just more pressure that you're adding. and I see it all the time with just me coaching, just within the coaching, right? When I got kids up there hitting and a kid swings at a high one, well, the last thing he needs me to tell him, hey, that ball's high, don't swing at it. Well, duh, he knows that. He's not purposely swinging at high ones because they look so pretty. He knows it's high. You're not helping the situation. You're just adding anxiety into that situation, and we take that onto the basketball floor. That's why when we're refereeing, how good would it be if we're refereeing? I'm taking my whistle, I yell, "Hey, you're in the wrong position." That would just put so much more pressure on things. And when we have pressure, whether it be the pressure we're putting on ourselves or added pressure, we're probably going to fail.
Yeah, and like I said, it doesn't matter what the activity is. It doesn't matter if you're in education and you're working with your teachers and staff, or if you're running a small business, or if you're running a large corporation and you're responsible for hundreds or thousands of people. This idea that we find something that's wrong and we're immediately there to say, and we're building pressure on people and actually creating more fear and anxiety instead of saying, hey, let me help you get this right the next time. Or when we see them doing something right, I used to hear people all the time in all the years I was in corporate world, and I hear all the time, they're paid to do their job correctly. We've hired them to do their job. And why do we need to spend money? Why do we need to spend time thanking people for just doing what we hired them to do? And the reality is there are people out there that believe that lie. Because at the end of the day, nobody wants to just feel that they were just hired to be used. And the only time you talk to them is when they make a mistake. They can go a year long and be perfect. And the one mistake, you finally show up and you swoop in to tell them that they've screwed up. And we have too many people. And that's why I think this conversation is so important about remaining intentional, so that when people do miss the mark, you have relational credibility and they will listen to you because they understand that you have their back. You're their cheerleader and their coach. And when they don't get it right, you're there to help them, versus you're the person that never shows up until they get it wrong. And now you're there to just beat them down. So this idea of being intentional about appreciation and celebration it's just so critical. And, I've seen you do it over the years. And, I don't know, with our few minutes left here, does anything come to mind where, and it doesn't have to just be about you, Jeff, but is there something that you have seen people do over time that has been extremely successful in creating this type of culture by being intentional, like we're talking about?
Well, I feel like, unfortunately, I feel like what I notice is the things that aren't working. Whether it be throughout our school or throughout coaches, and maybe it may not say be with our coaches, maybe it's an opposing team. It's very glaring on some of the things that coaches or teachers or whatever they're doing. They're not creating that culture. And something simple as, I teach a class and once a week, and it's basically called tenacity and grit. That's what the name of the class is. And we talk about having tenacity and grit, and then we also having regret. We don't want to have regret. And but one of the things we talk about is how does Coach Cross make how does he work on it, not having regret, or being able to be available to those kind of people. It's a simple act. If you're in your office, why not leave your door open? Why do we close our door? We close our door because we're always worried about us. Unless you're in something that is, absolutely, it needs undivided attention and it needs private, then close your door. You know, the kids I deal with on a day-to-day basis, they know that they can come into my office at any point in time, whether just to get a bottle of water, whether it's just to say, hey, coach, whatever that is, and how is that going to work? You have to make yourself available. I'm sorry, but I have to backtrack just a little bit. When we're talking about employers that are, why do we need to pay them to do the job we hired them to do? Because I'll tell you what, or why do we need to, tell them thank you for doing the job we paid them to do? Because if you don't, what you're doing is muffling them or stifling them. So if they're, let's just say you hired them to be a 10 and they're achieving, let's just say they're even achieving a 10. If you continue to help them grow and continue to help them by that surprise effect and make them want to be, guess what? There might be an 11 or 12 in that employee, but you want to keep it at a 10 because that's all you're really worried about. When next thing you know, you blink your eyes, you do a few small things, and you got that employee at a 12, maybe a 13. And that is when your company will really start to soar.
Yeah, and I agree, because on the flip side, right, it's this idea that says, well, I've paid them to do the job, so just do your job. And what happens is that you basically set up this mindset that they are there for a task in exchange for pay. And then what they will give you is nothing more than the bare minimum of the task. They will have no innovation. They will have no passion. They will have no team effect, because you've basically said, I'm going to use you. And so guess what they're going to do? They're just going to use it back. And people wonder why do we not have any loyalty anymore? Why do people not want to be a part of, when change is happening and embracing everything that's happening? Because you basically told them, go away. You're really not a person. You're just a vehicle to me being successful. And so we want to flip that on our head, be intentional, appreciate people, so that you, like you said, we're building them up constantly. There was another comment here that said Grace, interestingly enough, Jeff is the athletic director at what school?
Grace.
Grace. But the comment was, grace is a word I've used a lot lately. Extending it to others is critical. No one is perfect. And it's really the flip side of our conversation, right? Catch them doing something right. But when they get something wrong, we've got to have a little bit grace. We've got another comment here. True appreciation reflected and expressed onto others will help them continue their drive on the road to excellence, or by maintaining their excellence, right? So this idea is you're wanting to continue the motivation. And many, many years ago, Zig Ziglar, famous motivational speaker, would always say that motivation is like bathing. It's necessary daily. And so the reality is that you want your team to have a culture of excellence. You want to create something worth celebrating, then start celebrating and appreciating others, because that will motivate them to not only continue to do a good job, but to make that team more and more excellent. And just to reinforce for the viewers, this idea of a culture of excellence does not mean pursuing perfection. It means that no matter how good or where we are on a scale of 1 to 100, we know we'll never reach 100 consistently. But if we're at 53, we want to get to 54. If we're at 78, we want to get to 79. If we're at 95, we want to get to 95.1, right? We always want to be a little better, a little more excellent. And this is part of the fuel that we're talking about. It's amazing because, Jeff and I, for those of you that may not be aware, that could be watching this at some point, he and I have a lot of conversations that can go on a long period of time, and we roll from one topic to another. And we're getting close here to about 25 minutes. So, Jeff, if there's anything else that you'd like to say, now would be the time. I have another comment that just got posted. An orchestra conductor just made a comment, and happens to be my brother from Southern California. My success is directly connected to the musician's success. I am performing as they perform. If business leaders could experience that, they'd understand that you're performing together and none of you are without the other. And so each and every one needs to be lifted up for the value that they bring. Great comment. Anything else, Jeff, that you'd like to conclude and share with everybody today?
Yeah, a couple things, and I know we're almost running out of time, but I feel like these things need to be said. One is, and you said your brother-in-law, is that was it?
It's my brother.
Right?
Yeah, my brother. Yep.
Okay, your brother. I'm sorry. So, and it's the same principle. Me as a Division I referee, if I can help someone else be a Division I referee,
Yep.
let's say I'm whatever. I get to work in whatever Horizon League, but I help someone get to the Big Ten conference and I'm not at the Big Ten conference. That's just like me being there. That's exactly what it's like. And that is if you can stay in that mindset of, that teacher, oh man, I don't know if this kid's ever going to learn anything. And you blink their eyes and they've graduated college and now they're a professor at some university or whatever that is, you have a small part in that. And that's all we are. We are a small part into others that we develop. But the last thing I want to say is, and I think where a lot of us struggle in this situation when it does come to this, Randy, we're afraid. We're
Yeah.
afraid that we'll be embarrassed. Well, oh, I'll look like a fool if I try and do something that no one else is doing. I'm embarrassed that I give someone a little gift because I don't want them to think, that I'm soft or whatever that is. If you can get rid of the internal problems that you have with being embarrassed and just go out there and act like a 4-year-old, because 4-year-olds never get embarrassed, man. They'll go for it. They don't care. I see them walking to school every day. They got backpacks that are taller than they are and they're not embarrassed. But all of a sudden, once you reach a certain age, now your backpack's got to be perfect. You got to have the same color, shoes and socks on, whatever that is, right? Get away and let go of that fear of being embarrassed and just go for it. You'll figure out what works.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's a great place to wrap things up, is that you just have to go for it. You just have to say that the culture of our team is important enough that I am willing to be vulnerable and publicly say to other people that, hey, you're doing a great job and I appreciate you. And Jeff, I certainly I love you, brother. I'm so appreciative of you spending some time with people today. I know that you care deeply about people helping other people. And really, when we talk about creating a culture of excellence, today's topic of you create what you celebrate is really about helping others be their absolute best. And if you've enjoyed this time today and we dive deeper into it, into the book, there's lots of amazing content and stories. Going across the bottom of the screen right now is the link to my website. The code to put in is Randy Live. Randy Live, and you save 20% off your order. That code is good till the end of this month. So you've got 1 week to use it. Share it with your friends. This video will be on YouTube. And if you have found this insightful, send it out to other people. Send it to people in your circle, because the more that we can share and change small pieces of culture in small teams all around the country, we will actually change the culture of our entire country. One person at a time. It starts with each of you. Thank you again, Jeff, for being with us today. Thank you all for joining us. Until next time, remember, the culture you celebrate is the culture you create. We'll see you all. Have a great day.
I'm waving goodbye.
I am as well. We're out.